Hi, all. All right, so it's Vanessa Love, and I wanted to talk about some things today. All right, so um, I was introduced to this idea of involuntary celibate, incel, um, through a website that I frequently go on to, Imgur, if you know anything about it, and so like we were like joking around on the site, like, people joke around and do like funny comments to each other and stuff. And someone was like, no, there's an actual community that believes this. And like, I was like, it was like very facetious. And so, I was like, oh, this incel thing, I hadn't heard about that. So I go onto Facebook and I'm like, incel. And like, it's this group. And it's like people who are like, oh, so they say funny things. So I've been involved with that group. Well, I didn't know that my involvement with that group would be, I guess, imperative because, now we have these, unfortunately, mass killings that are going on. And I've asked the members of this group, like, what can people do? Like, what can we do? And, at the point where at the point where this stuff is happening, like we can't, the therapist, I mean, we can't really do anything, and it's so frustrating to feel so helpless because like as a therapist, like so many people want to feel like we can help anyone. And I'm just like, all right, I can only help what I know. And the people who are in this involuntary celibate group are angry, and I don't know if they want to particularly subscribe to, you know, a therapist who they think is a part of the system. And they might not want to talk about the anger and frustrations that they feel. And unfortunately, I have met someone who is almost an involuntary celibate. He wants a relationship so bad, and this is not a client. This is someone who I know from my writing group or previous writing group, and he wants a relationship so bad, and he understands that there are things that you have to do to be in a relationship, like you have to be romantic, but like he doesn't understand exactly how. And so he eventually left the writing group, and he kind of directed some anger at me, because like I would try to have conversations with him, but there were times where it was not. Oh, hold on. Where it was not going to. Like it was kind of like derailing the writing group. So like, I have to be like, hey, when you come to writing group, you have to write. That upset him. But there were things like he had gone out with a friend on Valentine's Day and had asked her out, and she said, not interested. But he still thought that there was a chance. So because she lived on the other side of the state or something, like he wanted to move closer to her. And I was like, oh my God, please don't. Like, please don't do that. But like in his mind, I said, like I don't know, like that he was in this relationship and shouldn't be or something. It was a very, very weird situation where like he just didn't understand that this person said they weren't interested, and that's it. I had done a video, I don't know if I ever posted it, about the issues with Isla Vista, because I know that I heard that there were YouTube videos that this person posted. They left a manifesto. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to, like give too much credit to this person. This person was seeing a therapist and had told the therapist about his intent. But when the police showed up, he was like, "No, I'm good. I'm fine." Like I can't help what we can't help what we don't know. And also, the thing that I had researched about with the mental hospitals, the psychiatric hospitals around Isla Vista, was that they didn't have any beds available. And so like you have to have like to be a very extreme case in order to be there. And so if he seemed fairly reasonable, if he's denying everything, they're not going to send him anywhere. They're not going to arrest him, which is, a problem with the system. Like we can only go with what we know. And if this person is saying, I do want to cause harm to other people, and you call the police and then they're like, I don't really feel that way. Like, like we can't do anything. And so like, again, it's that like, it's very helpless. Like they're so like, I mean, they're very angry and like, like I understand that they are feeling so much anger and frustration, but like, it's a very weird, like mixed signal. I wish I knew what was going on in their brain. I wish I could be like, so here's the problem, and then here's the thought about it, and the thought is kind of not okay either. But yeah, it's a very interesting thing. I did end up on Facebook having a fairly open discussion with my friends about the facts about male suicide. It did not get derailed too much. That like we mostly focused on that. What's going on. I was just like, well, what's going on in the community? Because like I went to the what is it, American Foundation of Suicide Prevention, and I looked at their statistics. Their statistics, very simply, on their website say 70% of suicides are by men. A majority of those are by middle-class, middle-aged white men. And so I was like, what's going on in the white men community that is making suicide like this thing that happens? And also, what the hell happened in 2012 that made the rates go extremely high? Like you can go by state and see how many suicides like have happened, and like they're usually in like states that are usually like predominantly white, like Iowa, Missouri, these places that I'm just like, okay, I mean, I believe that it's a majority of white people living there, so like what's going on? So yeah, very odd. And so like just 2012, like when you look at it, there's these really high spikes, and I'm like, I mean, I know that people thought that like the world was ending, but like, I mean, that the spikes, in suicide for that year is crazy. And one of my friends also said that, after 9/11, the suicide rate spiked as well. And I'm like, was that because of like flights? Was that because of like how many industries were kind of like out of whack? Like, was that the financial, like aspects of like the turmoil that was about to come out of that? Because like, like why? So there's a lot of things going on that are just it's very interesting. So one person pointed out military, and I was like, oh, of course, yeah, military, that would definitely be a contributing factor. Someone else said, maybe job loss. You never know how desperate you're going to feel, and that loss of identity when you're when you as a man losing your job. And then what was the other one? Like loss of family. Again, like kind of going back to the loss of identity, like like depressed men, and maybe divorce. Maybe there's like a high connection there. I think that there's a possibility of there was a long time where there was that disconnect with men and feelings, and so like I think maybe men, this is just a theory. I don't know. This is just kind of a seems like something. There was that disconnect with like men and their feelings, and so like not understanding their feelings, maybe that contributed to high distress. I know from my research for people who hurt themselves, the self-harm, kind of community, when they don't know what they're feeling, the distress goes high, and then they can't even tell you what's going on, like no coherent thoughts, just emotion. And so that's when they're more likely to harm themselves, because they just don't know what's going on with themselves, and it's so confusing and it's so disorienting. So maybe that's a possibility. There's so much to this that it's really unfortunate. And I did another paper for class that was about men seeking help for depression. And basically it just, the research said that like men think that depression is more of a feminine issue, so they are less likely to go to a therapist. And if they are going to request any services, they go to their medical provider first. Just to be like, I'm depressed, or I'm feeling sad, or all of the symptoms of depression that they talk to with their medical provider, their doctor, which I'm like, hey, at least they're reaching out to someone. But also, luckily with that research, they said, like, the more informed that we can inform therapists, the better that therapists can kind of target men and kind of get them into therapy. And I'm always happy when when a man comes to therapy and is like, I've been traumatized, I'm depressed, and I'm really, I don't want to say overjoyed, like I'm interested, like I'm so proud. There we go. I'm so proud of the clients who can come into therapy and say, like, I was molested as a kid, because like the shame around all of that and how much that affects any person's life, including a man, like how that affects a person, like it's vast. It's vast. Oh my God. So like, I mean, that, like, knowing that people feel comfortable enough to trust me with that stuff, like, oh my gosh, it's why I do this job. But I just know that there are so many reasons why men don't seek counseling. And I just wish I could shake them all and be like, you just come to therapy, but of course, you gotta wait, gotta meet your clients where they are. And sometimes it's just a matter of waiting. Yeah. And I don't know, I mean, it seems kind of like the system is failing a lot of men at this point. And I wish that there was any way that we could notice early, get there, like have some sort of help and dialogue and attentiveness to really what's going on. Like I wish I had more answers instead of questions here. It's not a good place to be. Well, I hope that was helpful for you, and like and subscribe and all of that good stuff, and I will talk with you soon. Thanks so much for watching.